The year is 2008 and Iron Man arrives in theaters as the very first film from a brand new Marvel Studios. This first film could very well be the studio's last if the audience doesn't react positively to the final product. Now, flash forward to present day, 10 years later, and we have enjoyed 18 stories that have all been leading to this moment. So, does Avengers Infinity War deliver on 10 years of storytelling while still being an enjoyable standalone film, or does Loki trick us all? Let's talk about it in this review. Let's begin by looking at how this film wraps up 10 years of storytelling. It doesn't. In fact, one of the great misdirections in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was the belief that this film was going to be the conclusion of 10 years of storytelling. It's not. Since Marvel has been telling these films and blending a long-form storytelling style similar to television, I understand why some people online have been considering this the season finale. I disagree with that sentiment. I think they're wrong, but I do understand where they're coming from. This movie doesn't wrap up anything. In fact, it actually leaves the door wide open for future stories as it was intended to do. I believe this because Avengers 3 and 4 were actually shot at the same time. This film, Avengers 3, could have easily just been titled Thanos, as the entire movie is centered around that character. At its core, this film really just explores the life and mindset of Thanos, who, in his own mind, is convinced that he's burdened with glorious purpose. This movie has little to do with the actual Avengers and more to do with just emphasizing and showcasing how powerful and how menacing Thanos is across the cosmos. From the opening scene of this movie, he's killed 2 gods and knocked the Hulk unconscious. From there, he and his Black Order are on a galaxy quest across the cosmos to try and get all of the Infinity Stones and annihilate half of the universe. The heroes in this story are absolutely no match for Thanos, and again, they are used only to showcase his might and his strength. And by doing this, we actually see them overcome his armies and overcome the Black Order. But again, this is all just to showcase what a terrible threat he is in the galaxy. This entire film is about us learning who Thanos is, and that is why I do believe it's not a season finale, but more appropriately, I believe it's a mid-season finale. Plus, with Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel all hitting theaters before Avengers 4, it's safe to assume that Avengers 4 will actually feel more like the season finale now that we've firmly established how great a threat Thanos truly is. The motivation for his character is curious, but it is understandable. He has seen his planet become overpopulated and brought to ruin because his people didn't heed his warning and annihilate half of the population. So in order to ensure that other planets don't suffer the same fate as his, he goes around the galaxy from one planet to another, wiping out half of the populace on that planet to bring it back to balance. As we find out in this film, his ultimate goal is to wipe out half of all of the universe. In order to do this with maximum efficiency, he needs to acquire all 6 of the Infinity Stones because that will allow him to achieve his goal by simply snapping his fingers. So again, in his mindset, why would he travel from planet to planet to achieve his goal when acquiring all of the Infinity Stones in the Infinity Gauntlet will allow him to reach the end game again with just a snap of his fingers. Maximum efficiency. Okay, let's now look at the film as a standalone story. In all honesty, the actual story itself is pretty thin. There's new characters that have 0 to minimal development in this story, and they're main characters throughout the film. For example, the Black Order remains a mystery to us, and they were on screen almost the entire movie. And if you haven't seen the previous films, you might be just as confused as Bruce Banner, the Hulk, as to who the new characters are, what the relationships are, where everybody is at, and who these new Avengers are. They do give a nice information dump at the very beginning of the film with Wong, as he is explaining to Tony and Bruce the Infinity Stones, how they all came together, what they are, and who Thanos is as a threat. Mostly, this film is very quick-paced, and it relies heavily on the fact that you are already an established fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, if you are a fan like me, you might have been confused why Thor suddenly needs a hammer, when, in Thor Ragnarok, it's explained that he is the god of thunder, not the god of hammers. If Scarlet Witch is powerful enough to destroy an Infinity Stone on her own, why is Thor, the god of thunder, not powerful enough to stop Thanos on his own? Also, we don't get an explanation for why Hulk suddenly won't show up during the movie. There's one incredible scene in the trailers that got everybody hyped, where we see Captain America and Black Panther and everybody else running towards the camera, and that scene isn't even in the movie. In fact, Hulk is only in the movie at the very beginning, and he leaves Bruce Banner to fight the Black Order in Hulkbuster armor, but it's never actually explained why Hulk won't come out and won't join the fight. We can only speculate that maybe he's afraid to come out and fight because of what Thanos did to him the last time we saw him, but we really don't know. It's not explained. Again, story thin. And by the end of the film, we're left with questions like, why didn't Doctor Strange just use the Time Stone to go back in time to stop Thanos from destroying Xandar and getting the Power Stone? Also, since we don't actually get to see Thanos destroying Xandar to get the Power Stone, we don't know if the Nova Corps was able to transfer all of their power to one individual, creating Nova. Will Nova be in Avengers 4? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Since this movie has a lot of really intense action sequences, let's take a look at some of those combat scenes now. With regards to the battle sequences, there are some very well shot and well choreographed combat scenes. I could watch the Thanos Doctor Strange fight scene at the end of the movie on repeat with a smile. When the Crimson Bands of Sidorak made their appearance and we see Doctor Strange holding down Thanos, it literally got an audible response from me. I was super excited. Totally had a nerd out moment in the theater. At least I'm assuming that those were the Crimson Bands from the comic books. He doesn't really like cast a spell and announce them or anything like that. I'm just left to speculate, but I'm assuming based on their design and everything else that those were the Crimson Bands. The new nanotech suit that Tony Stark Iron Man comes up with is pretty fantastic. I liked how whenever he is in a combat sequence or a fight or anything like that, he is able to create whatever weapon he needs from that suit that is appropriate for the battle. Pretty solid stuff. Also on Wakanda, when we see Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, pick up Rocket Raccoon and they just do a spin move right there just to mow down all of those aliens, I thought that was pretty fantastic as well. And I think out of all of the characters, Captain America was probably the best choreographed fight scenes. It really looked like he was giving his all on every combat move. The way everything was shot, it really looked believable. It looked like Captain America was truly fighting for his life and to save the universe from this alien threat. Avengers Infinity War is playing at your local movie theater right now. I have already seen this movie 3 times, and I am definitely recommending a big screen viewing of this film. Each time I walked out of the theater, I found myself enjoying this movie even more and more, and also started picking up on little things here and there throughout the film that I didn't notice on the previous viewings. There's a lot to take in with this movie, and I'm definitely recommending you see this in IMAX. Word of caution to everybody who's not a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you might be a little bit confused by some of the characters and their relationships in this movie. However, you will understand the movie itself. As I stated, I do feel the story is written thinly, but it moves very quickly, it doesn't waste any time, and you understand the motivations for each of the characters and why they're doing what they're doing. So while you may not understand their backstory, you understand what's happening right now on the big screen, and that's enough for a solo movie. And again, as you just heard, even if you're not a fan of the MCU, the fight sequences and the choreography and the way everything is shot and designed really looks great. The powers that each of the individuals have on screen is highlighted beautifully, and you really believe what's happening on screen is happening in real life for these characters. The introduction of the new characters, Red Skull's cameo appearance, the fight sequences, Doctor Strange battling Thanos. So much of this film put a smile on my face, and that was enough to get both high fives from this guy. Avengers Infinity War is playing at your local movie theater right now. Check it out.